Welcome to the Workplace Wellbeing Essentials Series. I'm Mari Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Advancing Wellness. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to this expert interview where we explore topics that impact employee well-being. My guest today is Michelle Spehr. Michelle is the co-founder and chief framework officer of the Mindful City Project. With more than a decade of consulting experience, her contributions to this initiative include developing frameworks that strengthen the capacity of communities to apply mindfulness in ways that positively change mindsets and reinvent how people connect and work together. Michelle also works as a health and wellness consultant at the Benefit Services Group, Inc. In this role, she helps employers identify and apply creative solutions that address well-being at both the employee and the organizational levels. Michelle earned her master's degree in both communications and health education. Her professional credentials include certifications as a master's level health education specialist, a worksite wellness program consultant, and a faculty designation from WellCoa. Michelle, welcome. I'm delighted to have you as my guest today.
Thanks, Mari. This is fabulous. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, our topic that we're going to explore today is about mindful leadership. So we're hearing a lot more about mindfulness these days, but it's really started to come much more into the realm of a leadership skill. And I'm curious as to whether you can help provide some context for this by helping us understand really what is mindfulness and what is it not?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that, because one of the things I'm finding as I talk to more employers and individuals actually is that there's so many different definitions of mindfulness. And everybody you talk to kind of has a different definition. And so one of the things that I think you and I both found when we went to the Mindful Leadership Summit is that oftentimes we think we know what mindfulness is. I know for me personally, I thought going into that conference, I worked in worksite wellness. I understand mindfulness and it has to do with, I do yoga, so there's stress reduction involved. And I think one of the things I've really come to appreciate that it's much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I attended a session, and I think you and I were both in the one with Janice Murturano, who is the director of the Center for Mindful Leadership. And one of the things that she said at all of her trainings when she works with employers, she said, it's important for you to know that mindfulness is not a religion. And I want to assure you that we're not going to be chanting and burning incense. That really exploring mindfulness is almost like a mental skill training. Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot more comparisons to we exercise our physical body, but we have so much more research now about what does it mean to exercise our brain, exercise our mind, and the benefits that come out of that. So I think starting out with, knowing that it's so much more than stress reduction. Mm-hmm. And, differentiating it between some of the common myths of what it's not is important. So there are some definitions. Do you mind if I share one with you?
Please do. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I think that although there's many definitions, one of the mindfulness definitions that I've shared when I've done some of my presentations is the one that we have here, and that is, how can we get a better capacity or skill set that we can stay focused? I know you and I, Mari, have talked a lot about, the definition of, well, just be here now, but what does that really mean? And more in the business context. So the ability for us to stay focused, being aware of our thoughts and our surroundings. But I think even more importantly is recognizing when we're distracted and knowing when we need to move past them. So when we think about mindfulness that way, you can see where it can have a better business impact. It can have a lot more impact on our relationships with each other. There's just so many really positive things that mindfulness skills, mindfulness practices can help us with. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that there's so much going on, or the the reality of day-to-day experience has really detracted from being able to stay focused. So I like this definition.
So we're really thinking about mindfulness as a muscle, similar to we have muscles in our body, that we're training to be present in the moment. And, as you know, and as many people who've read some of the things that I write know, I've had a mindfulness practice, a meditation practice for years. And it's so interesting to know and really work at being present and know when you're focused and the difference between when you are focused and when you're not focused. And I see this all the time when I'm sitting in meetings. I was sitting in a meeting yesterday afternoon with a client, and it was really clear who was present, who was listening, who wasn't. And we have so many distractions and so many things that can take us away from that moment, but yet we miss so much when we're not here now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, some of the research that I've done, I found that they've studied this, and 47% of the time on average, we are not paying attention to what we're working on. And I think that was a big light bulb moment for me when I thought about that from even a business standpoint. What if we could improve that, just by a couple percentage points? Or what does that mean in our personal relationships? I think your example of a meeting or workplace is definitely one that many people can relate to. I think the other aspect too, from the leadership standpoint, is thinking about, as a leader, how are you showing up with those that are on your team? And, are you pulling out a phone and looking at emails, or being distracted, looking over somebody's shoulder instead of really being with the individual and having them feel like you're listening to them? I've even learned from myself that oftentimes I interrupt people because I get so excited about a conversation. And that isn't even being mindful, because I think we tend to express more when we can, get a little deeper and deeper. And when I interrupt people, they don't have that ability to really, tell their full story. And so I've even seen where this concept of, mindful listening, while it's not anything new, I think it contributes to this bigger picture of, are we showing up for other people, and how can that help us in the business setting?
Right.
If we're having a strategic planning meeting, for example, one of the things that I heard you can do from a mindfulness standpoint is let every individual contribute with a monologue, where we have each person bring their ideas forward, and they have a minute or two where they can just talk, and it is their time, as much of that they need, and we don't interrupt them, and better ideas can come out of that. And then we're not thinking about, well, what can I say, or what am I going to respond? So anyway, there's so much to this. It's really a big concept, but that whole idea, like I said, 47% of the time, if we're not really paying attention to where we are, what are we missing?
So is there anything else you'd like to add as we wrap up here today?
Well, I guess for me, the lesson that I've learned as I've dug into this topic more is that really, can we, this whole concept of mindfulness is, I think it's important, and on so many levels, and can we afford really not to be present, with those who are important to us, and be on this, continuous autopilot, type of thing? Can we afford to, not show up and be present in our jobs and in our communities and in our families? So I think that if anything, I believe that the importance in not only helping in the workplace, but contributing to a much larger vision of just communities and everyone getting along better and working in a place where we really do value each individual is priceless. So anyway.
It is priceless, and hopefully we can all move towards creating those people-centric workplaces and the respect and that we, every individual deserves anywhere in their lives. So if our audience wants to connect with you, Michelle, where can they find you or find out more information about the work that you're doing?
Well, I I love connecting with people who are interested in this, especially, the mindfulness area. And the best way to do that would be to connect with me on LinkedIn. So
Great.
I would welcome that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. As always, I adore spending time with you. This was a fabulous conversation, and I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mari. I really appreciate it.